Do you own a dog, cat, bird, or other pet? Did you know that many homeowners and renters policies don't cover animal or pet liability claims, so you may be held liable if an incident, accident, or claim occurs? At X Insurance, we provide customized liability insurance coverage for any animal or pet regardless of type, size, age, or bite history. X Insurance provides third-party liability coverage for injuries or property damage done to others by your pet. An X Insurance policy will fill the gaps in your homeowners or renters coverage and provide the protection you need for true peace of mind to protect your assets. X Insurance offers 30-plus years of professional experience, providing solutions for many types of specialty risks in all 50 states. If you own an ATV, electric scooter, golf cart, etc., then we've got you covered. Visit xinsurance.com or call 877-585-2853 today to learn more or to get a free quote.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Welcome Home Doggy. I'm your host Arianna Lasha, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Miss Brittney Wilk, the co-founder and rescue coordinator of the Cavalier Rescue. Brittney, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, let's take it from the top. Please tell us, what is the Cavalier Rescue?
So the Cavalier Rescue is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We are a breed-specific rescue, so we only work with one breed of dogs. That is the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. We're also a foster home-based organization, so meaning we do not have a central facility. While we're headquartered here in Birmingham, Alabama, because that's where I am and our co-founder is, we actually operate throughout the country.
Okay, so why is the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel in need of special rescue?
Yeah, so there's actually a breed rescue for every breed of dogs that there is. And some people don't know that. They think rescue organizations or shelters are all breed or mixed breed, but each purebred dog has their own group of rescue. And so we cover the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, which is a wonderful breed of dog and certainly very adorable and desirable and expensive. And so it's a very common misconception that for all those reasons that they wouldn't need rescue help. But again, a very big misconception because we're very busy. So yes, they do. And that's for a variety of reasons. One contributing to really poor health is unfortunately the bad breeding side. And that is, your backyard breeders and puppy mills. Unfortunately, the Cavalier breed is very prevalent in that. And because there's bad breeding practices, you end up with unhealthy and congenitally sick dogs. And then unfortunately, you've got families who aren't prepared to deal with those medical issues, or they feel like they can't either financially or otherwise meet the needs of those dogs. So that's one of the common reasons that they come into rescue. And then certainly also on the bad breeding side, we do try to rescue them out of those breeding situations so that we can give them, a chance at a happy life that they've never had. So those are two of the more common ways that Cavaliers come into our rescue and why they need rescue help.
Of course. You mentioned puppy mills. Why is this specific dog breed? What are you guys doing to help the Cavaliers and puppy mills?
Yeah, so with kind of the big designer breed trend and mixing dogs, you've got the Cavalier mix in that a lot. So Cavapoos, Cavachons, Cava everything. They're mixing these Cavaliers with other breeds to create, these hypoallergenic and more desirable breeds. And so unfortunately, Cavaliers, are very prevalent in these puppy mill operations. We kind of call these dogs the forgotten ones because, dogs that come from shelters or other situations, oftentimes there's a plea for help. So you see their listing somewhere, or you've been tagged, your rescue group has been tagged so that you can reach out and help them. There's no face or name plea for help or listing for these puppy mill dogs. You would otherwise know nothing about them, never see their face, never understand their suffering, unless you take the initiative to go out and rescue them. And so that's a large part of our mission, because we felt like there was a gap there with a lot of other rescue organizations, again, waiting for, that call for them to help instead of going out and actually help getting these dogs out of these situations. So that was a gap we really wanted to bridge, and why it's become a really large part of our mission to go and help these puppy mill dogs.
All right. Well, could you take us through the day-to-day operations of the Cavalier Rescue?
Sure. So because we're foster home based and we don't have a central facility, we're operating out of foster homes all over the country. So we've got foster homes in California, all the way from California to Georgia. So literally coast to coast. And so that is, meeting the needs of those foster dogs through the foster home. So it's a lot of managing and a lot of day-to-day communications with everybody to make sure, those dogs are taken care of. They have absolutely everything they need, getting vet appointments set up, being in touch with all those different vet clinics, getting them listed for adoption and screening applicants. Those are all things we do. Of course, we're all also foster homes, so we're housing our dogs at the same time. So meeting the needs of the dogs that are in our care as well. Fostering is, such an important part of this, and rehabilitating the dogs to get them to the point where they can be adoptable. And unfortunately, because so many of our dogs come from those really terrible situations, like puppy mills, that is a large part of where our time, effort, and resources are going, because those dogs are so in need and require so much, both on the medical front and the emotional front and the rehabilitation process, to get them to a point where they can be adoptable.
Wow. So you talked a lot about your rescues, and it's even in the name, the Cavalier Rescue. Can you give us a story of one of the memorable rescues that you've had?
Yeah, so there's been so many. Obviously, every dog has their own story and transformation, and so many special ones stand out. But I think one of the most memorable ones, and ones that I think really define what our organization is all about, is a dog named Buddy that came through our organization in December of 2018. He actually came by way of a shelter. So one of the things that we seek to do is forge those relationships with shelters, again, all over the country, because we are based everywhere. And that, so that when a Cavalier in need does come through, that they know we are there to help them. We've never said no to a Cavalier in need. We are known to take some of the most medically fragile dogs because of our resources and experience. So we want them to know that. We want them to understand, if there's a Cavalier that comes through, that we can best serve them, and that partnering together is in the best, interest of everybody. And so Buddy came through a shelter. It was in South Carolina. And whether we were contacted or somebody tagged us, I'm not sure, but we became aware of Buddy and his situation. And he was really on the brink of euthanasia. He was in such terrible condition and was in such pain. And the shelter said, I don't know if there's any hope for him, but certainly, you guys have the experience and the resources if you want to try. And absolutely, yes, 100%. So here in Birmingham, we have our most extensive medical team and resources. So all of our really medically fragile dogs come through here in our Birmingham area because of our team of doctors. And so we got Buddy here, and it was very apparent, why the shelter felt that way. I called him the dog that was made of glass. You literally couldn't touch him without him just shrieking in pain. In terms of having to move him, manipulate him, handle him, he was in such pain, you couldn't even touch him. He had this carrier, and you just had to move him around in this carrier as gently as possible as you could. Him even just laying down would send him into these muscle spasms and shrieking and yelping. It was heartbreaking. And we definitely questioned, what is the right thing to do in this scenario? He had so many undiagnosed, untreated, and neglected medical issues that we really said, well, what if he responds to treatment he's never had before? What if he responds so well? Let's give him a chance to just try to see if he can respond and if we can manage some of these things. I mean, these were medical issues that, of course, were the Cavalier issues, mitral valve disease, in terms of their heart valve not working properly, luxating patellas with his knees, terrible arthritis. He had spondylolisthesis in his back. His back was basically collapsing. He had no disc space whatsoever. He had a neurological condition called syringomyelia, which is a really common Cavalier condition that affects them neurologically in all sorts of strange ways. He had dry eye where he didn't produce enough tears. So his eyes were, ulcerated and infected and inflamed. And I mean, he had everything under the sun. So we said, what if we start to just chip away at some of these things and let's just see, what the outcome is. And this is where I feel like it's such an exemplary of our organization, because I'm not so sure that if he ended up anywhere else, would those resources be available to even give him the shot? Would that team of doctors and expertise to understand all of these things, be there to help him? And would have anybody else given him that opportunity and time for this all to come together? And I'm not sure that it would have. And I certainly had my doubts as well about whether we were doing the right thing, because it's hard to watch them suffering. And so we did. We started to chip away at his medical list and get all of his, medical needs managed with medications and different kind of therapies. And sure enough, Buddy just started to improve one by one. He responded so well to all of his treatment, all of his care. So we put him into our hospice program, knowing that these things were going to be too expensive and too much for an adopting family to take care of. Because of our resources here in rescue, we have a hospice program that allows us to best meet the needs of these really costly dogs with chronic life-ending medical issues. And so we put him into our hospice program. He went to a wonderful hospice foster in St. Simon Island, Georgia. And now here we are. That was December 2018, and now we're almost in December 2020. And I am not lying when I say every photo and video that we get of Buddy, I truly don't believe it. I cannot believe it's the same dog that was here at my house, yelping in pain, me crying, wondering if this, is this the right thing to do? If we should put him down, if we shouldn't. Not only can you touch him and he can walk and he can rest and he can be comfortable, but he is running on the beach and swimming in the ocean and doing things that I never thought this dog could possibly ever do. All we really wanted to do was maybe give him, weeks, maybe a month to know he's loved, he has family, get him somewhat comfortable. I thought that was the most we could do for this dog, and then that would be enough. To think 2 years later now that this dog has the most amazing quality of life, doing things we never thought he could ever do because of excellent medical care, the resources needed that we have to be able to do this, foster home that's so committed and so wonderful, and that we gave him the opportunity. And so it's such a success story. And like I said, every photo, video, and update, I truly cannot believe my eyes that it's the same dog. And I think it just really speaks to our rescue and what we're able to do and how we're able to serve these dogs, even the ones, in such need, and we can still change their lives.
All throughout your story, I was just wondering, where is Buddy? What's he up to now? But that's great that he's in better condition and that you guys were able to nurse him back to health. Do families often send you guys updates or pictures and videos of rescues that you have?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so we kind of have a saying. Obviously, we invest so much in our dogs, both financially, but way more emotionally, because they're in foster homes and just a part of the family in every way. I mean, they truly are treated no differently than our family dogs. So we have a lot invested in them. So when we, it's very difficult to entrust somebody else with their care, and certainly that ongoing communication is so important for us to see, that they're thriving, that they're happy. For us, the end goal is not adoption. The end goal for us is to ensure the best long-term outcome for these dogs, to support them and the families in any way that they can. We have a little saying that says, we don't adopt our dogs out, we adopt our families in. They truly become a part. I'm sorry?
How do you know that you're picking the right family for these Cavaliers?
Yeah, so a lot goes into that. That's obviously an extremely important part after we've invested so much, being able to just turn over this care to somebody else and entrust them to provide for them the same everything that we did. That it's hard to ask, and it has to be perfect for us to be able to do it. And so to be able to find those perfect matches takes a lot of effort and a lot of due diligence on our part. And so we have a very thorough adoption process where we really get to know the family, the lifestyle, the environment. At minimum, that we start with an adoption application to just learn some basics. We do in-person interviews, on-phone interviews. We talk to their vet about the standard of care and making sure, they're seeing their dogs and they're healthy and up to date and all of that. We go to their home, check the environment, make sure it's going to be safe, ready, conducive for those dogs. And it's really about best fit. So all of our dogs have really unique special needs. So we don't have any like general adoption requirements in terms of, you have to have a fenced yard or, no kids under 10 or anything like that. Our dogs are all super unique. And so they all have different needs. So each dog has their own set of requirements. So some dogs might need a fenced yard and an adult only home, and some dogs don't. So we truly take a look at it dog by dog and try to match them to an environment and family that's going to be just a perfect match for their needs. And then part of the adoption contract is, of course, ongoing communication with us so that we can make sure that it is a happy long term, and any way we can support the family and the dog, for the lifetime of the dog, we will. So if there's a medical issue that comes up, we're often contacted just for our recommendations and input and thoughts of how we can help. If there's anything we can do to assist them, behaviorally with connecting them with a behaviorist or anything like that. We're all about just the long-term outcome for both our families and our dogs, making sure it's a successful adoption, for everybody.
Right. There's so many moving parts to this organization and so many different components. How are you guys able to fund your rescue missions?
Yeah, so thankfully we have an amazing support community that really backs up our mission, and that is restoring the dog to their best self and to, their whole health, emotionally, physically, behaviorally, everything to set them up for a happy forever, successful adoption. And so they're really on board with that mission. They wouldn't be behind, just vaccines or spays and neuters. That's not what they want to see. They really support the mission in knowing that we're setting the dog up for a lifetime of success and happiness. And that's important to them. So we're thankful that we can always say yes to the most medically fragile dogs, because we know that we have this team behind us that will back us up and make it possible despite, whatever costs are. In fact, we just took in 4 blind dogs from a hoarding situation. It was a congenital juvenile cataract situation. So all 4 of them had these advanced hypermature cataracts and that left them blind. And so we took in these 4 blind dogs, and 3 of the 4 just had cataract surgery, and the next one will be having it soon. So we're talking, $3,000 on each eye for these cataracts times 4. But we don't have to blink or question, can we do this? Or, and that I'm so thankful for that aspect, because if we couldn't provide those surgeries, I would feel like we were falling short for the dog. They deserve, to have those surgeries and to have those kind of outcomes. And I'm just so thankful that we can provide 100% of it and never, cut corners, because we have the most amazing support community who really backs up our mission. And we're funded completely by donations. And it's such a team effort. Yes, we're on the ground working with the dogs and fostering, but our real team is behind us, supporting us, making it possible for all of that to happen. So there's a lot of people and a lot of hearts in play behind every single dog. And I hope our babies just know how lucky they are to have landed in such a huge rescue family that just wants to see them, be the best that they can be.
Here's a question that I was wondering personally. If you come across a dog that's a different breed than a Cavalier, do you still rescue it, or how does that work?
Yeah, so, having other connections in the rescue field is so vital. Connections, all places to do home visits or to, transfer another dog or, so thankfully we've got wonderful connections all over the place, and that if it is a scenario where there is a dog of another breed, that we can connect them to another very like-minded organization that can best fit their needs. Frankly, if there was a dog of another breed, I wouldn't know what to do with it. We're all, Cavalier enthusiasts and experts, and we handle, we can meet 100% the needs of a Cavalier, but any other dog is really outside of our wheelhouse. Even mixes, we explored in the beginning, do we take Cavalier mixes, do we not? And we found in taking them, it was outside of our wheelhouse. And we couldn't best serve them like we can our Cavaliers. And so we ultimately decided not to, not for any other reason than we felt like we couldn't meet their needs as good as somebody else more familiar with working with all breed or different breeds. So, it's very niche and very specialty, but I think in that way, we're able to really do our best work.
And speaking of specialties, I know earlier you had mentioned your hospice program. What other unique programs do you guys have in this organization?
Yeah, so I think our hospice program is super unique. I don't know of another Cavalier Rescue organization that has a hospice program. It wasn't something we had thought of initially until we got our first hospice dog. And that dog's name was Jake, and that was one of I love to take in the hospice fosters. He was one of my hospice dogs, and he came into our organization from a puppy mill. He was put up for auction, which we can talk about, and we rescued him off the auction block, having no idea, what kind of needs he had at that point. And as soon as he arrived, we found a tumor in his mouth, and unfortunately that was cancer, and it had already spread throughout his whole body. So there was nothing we could do at that point because it had already metastasized throughout his body. There wasn't anything we could do medically other than to provide hospice care for him. And so that was really the first time we hit that intersection and said, well, what do we do with a dog like this? How can we ensure, he's getting the great care that he needs to manage this? And we decided, well, he's best off being with us, no doubt. And so we decided to set up this hospice program, and Jake was our first hospice dog. And in this program, we cover the expenses for all of their care and needs completely. So this ensures, that they have the best chance to have the happiest and longest, life ahead of them, although it's cut short by a chronic illness. And so these dogs are very costly, obviously, because we're managing really severe medical needs, and ensuring, at the same time, they're having the best quality of life that they can have. And so we have a fund set up specifically for those hospice dogs that people can donate to, and that goes into the ongoing care of those dogs. I want to say we've had 8 hospice dogs total. Right now, I believe we have 5 in our program right now. And from Jake's rescue, we also created a program called Jakey's Blankies, and that's another program within our organization born from Jake, who is a very special dog to us. And we recognize that for these puppy mill dogs, they come into our rescue having nothing. In fact, they don't even have a name. In fact, I brought what they wear. This is a chain with an ID tag that's a number. This is what our puppy mill dogs wear. This is how they're identified by. So they come into our rescue having nothing, not even a name. All they have is this chain with a number around their neck. And so we gift that every single dog that comes into our program a really luxurious, wonderful blanket. This blanket is used in foster care, and then it goes on with them to their adopting home, which is really special because in an unfamiliar environment where everything is new, they have their Jakey blankie, which has smells of their foster home that they use in their adopting home. And they end up, we hear from the adopting families that they use these blankets and like love these blankets so much. And so every Cavalier that comes to our program gets gifted with a Jakey blankie that, they'll have for forever. And this is really the first thing that becomes theirs. So it's become a really special program, a namesake program for Jake, and something really, really special for our dogs that arrive with absolutely nothing.
If someone wants to support or get involved with the Cavalier Rescue, how should they go about doing that?
Yeah, so because we really operate all over, we really could use support and volunteers all over the place. Even if it's not a spot that we have, foster families in or take dogs in, we have people apply to adopt all over. And like I said, part of that adoption process is a home visit. We do want to meet you, make sure you are who you say you are and you live where you say you live, and that this environment is clean and safe and conducive for our dogs. And so we depend on other people to be our eyes when we can't go to, Maine to do that. And so we need, people in that area that we can train and that can be those eyes for us to do those assessments. So really we have a need for people really all over. So certainly in that aspect for volunteering, that's important. And then like we talked about before, that financial support community is key for us to continue to run our mission and to help dogs, reach their full potentials. And so certainly financially supporting us, whether, the hospice program speaks to you or the Jakey's Blankies program speaks to you, or just donating to our general fund, or helping rescue dogs off the auction block out of puppy mills. We have a fund set up specifically for that really speaks to a lot of people's hearts. And so there's really a place for everybody to participate and to be a part of this. We also have, fundraisers from time to time. Like right now we have our 2021 calendar out, and all proceeds from that benefit our rescue. So if somebody, just wants to purchase a calendar, knowing that they're helping support our rescue organization, that's always helpful. So there's really a way to be a part and way to be involved. We're very active on social media and even just sharing our dog stories and educating people about puppy mills. And spreading puppy mill awareness and our dog stories, is being a part as well. Even if it's, not financially or not hands-on, just something as simple as that can really help spread our mission and continue awareness.
Well, Brittany, thank you so much for joining us today, all the way from Birmingham. You've taught us a lot about the Cavalier Rescue.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to share about us and about our Cavaliers.
All right, well, I just want to tell everyone watching, go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment on our channel. Visit Welcome Home Doggy to learn more about the Cavalier Rescue, or to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. I'm Arianna Lasha, and we'll see you next time.
Roll over. When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.